What's up guys, Dirk here from intelligentcryptocurrency.com, and in today's video I want to take a look at the other side of the coin, which is the bearish scenario for Bitcoin and for cryptocurrencies. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Dirk and all I do is share my insights, research, and experience about cryptocurrencies. So if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for and you're looking for no BS, no hype, real info about crypto, then consider subscribing to the channel below. It's 100% free. And if you do subscribe, make sure to click the notification bell so that you do get updates of future videos when I publish them. And as always, I also hold, for every video that gets above 50 likes, 50, I hold a competition where I give away $50 worth of Ethereum to a random commenter. So all you need to do is smash the like button, leave a comment below. If this video gets above 50 likes, then you could potentially be the winner of $50 worth of Ethereum. So before we get started, real quick, my last video, the biggest crypto bull run ever, published on August 30th. 110 likes, guys. You guys are awesome for smashing that like button, leaving comments. So what we're going to go and do is right now just choose a winner. So what I do is I head over to commentpicker.com. This just allows me to completely randomly choose a lucky winner. So I put in the YouTube URL, I click on start. Let's see who's going to go and win this raffle. Oscar. So Oscar, I'm going to head back over here. So Oscar, and I just left a reply over here. Congrats, Oscar. You won the 50 in ETH. Please send me an email and reply with your last 4 digits. So congrats, Oscar. Now, let's get back into the video. Now, I want to start by showing off a chart with possible scenarios that I posted here inside my members Discord. You can see over here on August 11th. And you can see over here, there's a number of potential scenarios, and that's always the case with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies, with any asset where you try and use technical analysis or you try and use past data to try and, project a path forward or where it's going to go. You never really know, right? There's always a super bullish scenario, which means it just goes straight up. There's like a kind of neutral bullish scenario where it just takes longer, but eventually it goes up. And then, of course, there's a mild bearish and a very bearish scenario. So this is kind of my thoughts at the time. So this is about a month ago over here, and you can see we could have, at that point we're around the 11,700 level when I posted this, and there was a possibility we went straight up to the 14k, which was the 2019 high. And you can see there's a possibility we went up, consolidated and go up, a possibility we went to 14k and dropped down, or a possibility that we dropped down from around that 12k level to retest this huge breakout level. Okay, so those are kind of the scenarios that we had that I thought were possible at this point in time. You could see over here also in 2019, I highlighted these boxes because you can see once the RSI gets above here, and it can consolidate a little bit and just oscillate up top here while the price goes up. So we had the first one back then, and maybe there's a possibility it could have continued going. So let's hop over and have a look at what the chart is doing right now. Now here's a daily chart of Bitcoin against the US dollar. You can see we're currently trading at $10,300, and it actually just went a little bit lower, but it's still held above the 10,000 level. So obviously that is a huge drop. We had this perfectly symmetrical kind of weird head and shoulders kind of thing going on here. I actually made a chart about it. Let me show you this. If you actually look on the 4-hourly chart of Bitcoin US dollar, it's absolutely crazy. So this is that head and shoulders type pattern, but you can see it is exactly symmetrical. Okay, so if we consider this is the left shoulder, it is exactly 92 bars, 15 hours, 15 days and 8 hours, right? From here to this head, and from this head to this right shoulder is exactly 92 bars, 15 days and 8 hours, right? So this is so perfectly symmetrical. Like if you see that, you can actually be like, what is the chance that that is a natural phenomenon? Either way, whether it's created in some way by algorithms or whatever the case is, manipulation or whatever it is, but this is so super perfectly symmetrical. So we went up, got this really identical symmetrical shape, and now we're back at this 10,000 level. The question is, how much lower can it go? The question is also, was this a fake out manipulated pump? And are we going to get a repeat of a 2019 scenario? So basically my thoughts on the market here, and as always, this is not financial advice, this is purely my opinion. just sharing my thoughts and my insights. Okay, so what we have is this huge triangle over here, right, that we've been in since 2017. We finally got that breakout, and we got it with a nice momentum, right? It shot up and it moved above this. But then we got this symmetrical kind of shape that moved up and moved back down. So the question is, was this a false breakout? Was it another style pump like in 2019 where it spent another year going back down after that? And the answer is, I don't know. I can't tell you. We'll only be able to see afterwards. But at this point in time, I think that if the $9,000 level still holds for Bitcoin, that this could still be bullish, right? We could still be getting that scenario where we test it, maybe retest, and then continue higher. Okay, that is completely possible. So this $9,000 level is a significant, in my opinion, for two reasons. And one of them that we're going to look into is the gap, the CME gap. And then we're also going to look at, basically, this is a retest, right? So it's very typical, and it tends to happen a lot in technical analysis. Once you get a large structure, once there's a breakout, there's a retest of the structure, which would be a breakout of this line over here. It retests it and then consolidates and then can go higher. So that is still positive, as well as the fact that on the daily, you know, this is a 200 daily moving average. It's about 9,600 at this point in time too. So that could provide some significant support, hopefully. Obviously, if we do break below this 9,000 level and for whatever reason we drop back into this triangle, well, then things aren't looking so hot, and we might look at another retest of these lows, which is at about 6,000. Now, that is something I don't expect this time, but it's always a possibility, especially with the stock markets being incredibly high. September and October traditionally being risk months for stock market crashes. For example, the 2000 stock market crash started in September. In 2007, the stock market crash started in the month of October. So these are high risk months, as well as it being an election year in the US. So there is chance for downside in the stocks. And if it's correlated to the stock market, if the stock market makes a huge dump, well, then crypto could potentially make another big dump. And we might still see, you know, if it does go below 9,000, then it might be possible to see once again $6,000 Bitcoin. So hopefully that won't be the case. But if it is, I mean, in the past that we've seen over these past 2 years, you know, when Bitcoin dropped to 3,000, if you would have bought, you know, a year later, it would have been at 14,000. Again, here, when Bitcoin was 4,000, 4,500, if you would have bought within a year, again, it was almost just over 12,000, right? So the last two times have really proved to be significant buying opportunities, even if the price were to drop down there again. So personally, I will also be looking at it as an opportunity if it does get there. Now, I'm not sure if it will, of course, but it is a possibility that we have to be aware of. Now, this chart over here is the Bitcoin futures. So it's basically the CME futures contracts, and it's a continuous contract. So what happens is, because Bitcoin trades 24/7, but CME futures trade in regular market hours, meaning they don't trade 24/7, is that when the price of Bitcoin tends to move overnight, right? When the price moves and the futures are not moving because the market is closed, then if the price opens higher the next day, what it does is it makes these gaps, right, on the chart. It makes these jumps. And you can see this is a regular occurrence. This also happens in the regular markets, in the stock markets with the S&P and the Dow and that kind of stuff. And there's just a theory that basically these gaps tend to get filled at some point. Not immediately, but at some point they all tend to get filled. And it's not a requirement, but it does tend to happen a lot. So you can see over here, even this gap had a spike down to fill it. Here was a gap and it wasn't filled until much later, but eventually it was filled. Same with this gap. It was filled. This gap was filled, right? So you can see these gaps have a tendency to get filled. And even this one over here, which was created in August 2019, that gap had remained open until it got filled very recently here in August. So basically 1 year later, but eventually it did get filled. Now you can see over here, one thing that we have is a gap at around the $9,500 level, $9,700 level. I think at this point, the chance of it being filled is pretty high. We're already so close to it. So you can see it's coming down and maybe it is going to fill it. You can see on the futures, the 200 moving average here, this red moving average indicator is also at about $9,500. Plus what I showed you with the retest potential over here. So there's a lot of support that I see potentially here at the 9,000 to 9,500 level. If that holds, I think it's good. We could probably see multiple weeks of consolidation before the market does tend to move higher again. But I think if that holds, the scenario is still bullish. Like I said, all bets are off. If the stock market does crash, if we go under 9,000, I think it's possible to see 6,000. Now, could you have known about this crash before it was coming? And the answer is yes, there were actually signs that were pointing towards this actually potentially being a sell-off. And one of my favorite indicators in technical analysis is what is called the negative divergence. And that is where the price action, so the price here makes a higher high, and the RSI, which is a standard indicator, it's a relative strength index, it's available on most charting platforms, it makes a lower high. It's very, very simple. So when you see this happening, there is a chance that there is a trend reversal. It doesn't always happen, okay? It's not 100% foolproof. Sometimes it doesn't work and the price just continues going higher. But when you see this, it is definitely a warning sign that there could be a potential trend reversal. And that is exactly what we saw here once again. You can see over here, recently this recent high of 470 or 490, I think it was. You can see 488. It actually made a lower high on the RSI, the same as in 2019. And then over here, you can see we had this downward movement. And right now, well, we've had this correction. The question is going to be, how far is it going to go? And with Ethereum, I think if it holds above this 2019 high once again like this, I think that could be a very good sign. You can see over here how much support it's providing. But otherwise, this next level, it could be anywhere between 290 and 315 if it does continue lower. But for now, let's see if this level holds, and hopefully it will, that we can continue and resume the bull market. Now, ultimately, this is just a very short-term kind of move, okay? So we went from 12,000 down to 10,000 in Bitcoin. Obviously, it feels like a big drop. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't to some of you. We've been in March, we had the big crash where we dropped back down to just over 4,000. We've seen this over and over in Bitcoin, okay? And in the moves up towards $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, if we get that, there are going to be significant corrections, 20, 30%, maybe even more, okay? It's not going to go straight up from here all the way up without any pullbacks. So what I'm trying to say is, in the grand scheme of things, this really isn't anything to be concerned about at this point in time. Like I said, if the $9,000 level still holds, I think things are still looking good for the bull case. If it does break in case of, a bear market in stocks or a big sell-off in stocks, yes, maybe potentially we will see $6,000 Bitcoin once again. And I do think that would be another buying opportunity. And yes, maybe it would take a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, maybe another year for Bitcoin to get back up there. But I think the chances of, if it does crash, for it to go back up once again are really high at some point, because not only have we had the third halving in May, which has once again decreased the amount of supply of Bitcoin that's being created every single day, but we also have the very real issue of all the money printing that's happening in the world today. I mean, this year alone in 2020, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars have been printed. Okay, that is going to destroy the value, the purchasing power of cryptocurrencies. And I do think, just like gold and metals, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will be a hedge against that. And people are going to be looking to get into it more and more. So even if the stock market does crash, which there is a chance for, like I said, in September, October, there are high risks for it. But at the same time, with all the unemployment in the world and the way the world is today, I think the stock market is one of the things that's still holding up the economy in some sense of stability there. I mean, if the stock market crashes on top of all the unemployment and everything like that, it could be really, really bad. And that is a possibility. So let's see what happens. And if that happens, what happens to the purchasing power of people's wealth whatever is left of it. I mean, the middle class is struggling enormously. UBI, it seems like it has to be something that's going to be a part of just everyday life, where the government is basically just going to have to give handouts to people. Otherwise, they're not going to have money. The jobs have been destroyed. The economy, industries have been destroyed, right? And against that loss of purchasing power, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could be a hedge. I mean, I made that whole video about it. The last video I published, actually, the biggest cryptocurrency bull run ever. I'll link to it up here if you haven't watched it yet, where basically I explain how, you know, it's banks getting involved in the crypto space now, starting to offer cryptocurrency services. Billionaires, Paul Tudor Jones, putting, you know, single digit percentages of his net worth exposed to Bitcoin. We have publicly listed companies starting to buy Bitcoin. So I think there is going to be a flow of money and capital into cryptocurrencies, even if it does take longer. Okay. And that's another thing that I might as well address here, is that things never go as we expect them to go. So if we're all super bullish about cryptocurrencies and we all think it's going to go to the moon by the end of the year, it usually does the opposite. And if we're all super bearish and we expect it to drop, it usually does the opposite, right? And what I've been seeing the last couple of weeks is that people have been incredibly bullish, especially with this DeFi stuff. Things have been crazy. Okay, there's literally food names and vegetable names: sushi, kimchi, yam, spaghetti, cream, all this kind of crazy DeFi experiments where people are throwing in money and people are just gambling on it. And that's, I made a video about it too. It's basically this DeFi stuff is like the ICO craze of 2017. It's not sustainable. A lot of it is scams. A lot of it will go to zero, and eventually it's going to end very, very badly. Even if, you know, people get lucky in the short term by gambling on the stuff. Sometimes people win in a casino too, you know, but at the end of the day, the house always wins, and most people lose everything they've made. You know, they'll give it all back. So basically, there was too much euphoria at this point in time. We got this dip that we're seeing right now, and then the question is going to be, how is this going to play out? Okay, if the 4-year cycles play out, then we should still see a massive bull market that is going to peak somewhere maybe end of 2021, maybe in 2022. But once again, if too many people are expecting that cycle to repeat, then either one of two things will happen. Most likely is that either it gets front run, meaning it happens much quicker than expected. So we get an enormous rally and a pump maybe in the next 6 to 8 months, taking us to beyond all-time highs, and then a drop, rather than it happening towards the end of 2021. Or maybe it takes longer than expected, and everyone's expecting it to happen in 2021. Maybe it takes another year, okay? And maybe we get more consolidation now, and for a few months it just goes sideways and lower, and then starts picking up and takes longer. So those are all things that you have to keep in mind. Now, as always, with cryptocurrencies, it is risky, it is volatile. That's why you should never have a large percentage of your net worth. That is why experts and billionaires are all saying, you know, maybe just single digit percentages of your net worth. So even if it does crash, and even if it does drop by 50% or 60%, and it stays that way for multiple months or a year or 2 years, like we've seen in the bear market of 2018, 2019, while it's definitely not nice to see because it's such a small percentage of your overall net worth, it shouldn't affect how you sleep, how you pay your bills, or how you do anything. Basically, you've got that there, and you can be patient. You can ride it out. You can set out the swings. It doesn't really matter. The day-to-day stuff and the short-term stuff doesn't matter too much, right? That's how you should be positioned. If you are feeling really bothered by this dip, if it's affecting your sleep and you know, all those kind of things, you've probably got way too much exposure to cryptocurrencies as a percentage of your net worth, and you should probably look into reducing that, and go speak to a financial advisor, look at your allocations, your risk management, all that kind of stuff. Okay, this is part of cryptocurrency. Sometimes it drops 50% in a short period of time. Right now, we're only down about 20%, so it is still very, very reasonable. And I think I've just talked for long enough about this topic. So basically, those are my thoughts. Let's see if the $9,000 level for Bitcoin does hold up. If it does, I think that's bullish. We could see a few weeks of consolidation and then perhaps continue the uptrend. If it does break to the downside, well, then we're probably looking at lower prices, and this might have something to do in combination with either a stock market crash or the dollar index that might continue to go higher, which would result in, you know, gold, metals, and cryptocurrencies going lower for the short term. So keep all of that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button below, leave a comment. You might stand a chance to win $50 worth of Ethereum. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already and click the notification bell. It's 100% free to do. And as you probably know at this point, I do have a premium cryptocurrency education and community group. And what I do here every single month, I publish a newsletter where I share my thoughts, updates of the market, news, insights, research on projects that I think have a lot of potential. Every single month I publish that. I've also do monthly video updates. I've got a total course for beginners. It's an 18 video lesson course where I share everything how Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies work to help you get up to speed on how this all works. I've also got a complete technical analysis and trading course. So everything related to how to read charts, how to trade, money management. It's a 20 lesson video course. It's part of the membership in there too. And last but not least, I also have a private Discord group where you get access to me personally and members all around the world who are invested in crypto, stocks, real estate that you can talk to and learn from, ask questions, get them answered in real time. I also share my own personal buy and sells of what I do with my cryptocurrencies. I share that with members inside the group. So if you want to learn more about that, go to intelligentcryptocurrency.com, or it's the first link in the description below if you want to check that out. For the rest, thanks for watching. Smash that like button, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.